Yo, 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 what it do though? Jokesta, baby. I already know, man. Told y'all we was coming back and we wasn't playing with it, man. Controversial conversation is on some new stuff, and we want to start talking to different people, different walks of life, so we can get some real insight onto some of the issues that are really plaguing our communities. So I have a very, very interesting individual here today who's got a unique perspective that comes from not only a law enforcement, but also as a human. And I think we tend to forget that we look at the positions, but we don't look at the people in them. And we tend to forget that those are people operating within those positions. So I thought it'd be great to have a good conversation. And I'm not going to belabor it. So I'm going to go ahead and let him introduce himself and we're going to get into it. So, sir.
My name is Spurgeon. I was the public safety director of the city of Fort Valley. And that job was the chief of police and the chief of the fire department. I did that for 10 years. Before that, worked my way up through the ranks as a detective. Started in 1995. I was there for 27 years, just retired this year.
Okay. So you've obviously been in law enforcement for a minute. What was it that sparked that idea? Like, all right, this is where I need to be. What was it?
Well, I mean, to be honest with you, man, the last thing on my mind, I had several experiences growing up that just kind of gave me the impression that we need people not only being outside agitators, but we need people inside the system as well to make the system work. At a young age, man, my family was a victim of I had a neighbor that somebody broke in her house, came to our house, attempted home invasion, and that was an incident that made me be like, wow, how that was investigated, how it was processed. Second thing was my grandfather, unfortunately, was murdered at a church. And being part of that was always just something that was in me. But to be honest with you, I kind of rebelled, got in a lot of trouble, man. Didn't understand how that trauma was affecting me personally. And now as an adult, I can understand like my inability to process that trauma. Got expelled from middle school, almost should have got expelled from high school. Ended up in the juvenile system myself, and that just gave me a unique perspective on both sides of the coin and how the court system works. Ended up at Fort Valley State, and I ended up taking criminal justice classes. I don't know why. It seemed like I'm gonna be honest with you, it seemed like it was like a kind of easy, and it was like, I'm interested in this anyway. But I actually got in the class, and it was the chief of police of Fort Valley at that time was a dude named Frank Strickland, who was a white guy, and I tell this story a lot. And he was in class actually talking about the inequities between how African Americans are treated in the criminal justice system. And I was just like, wow, that was kind of amazing to me. And he actually actively was recruiting us out of class because he said we need people who look like, talk like the community, to be part of the community. And I guess that was kind of like an epiphany for me. It was eye-opening. And that's what really got me interested in it, because to be honest with you, it was the last thing I thought about coming to college. I thought about being a lawyer.
Yeah.
I was just kind of it was kind of like, I think about, it's like a Kanye song, like it was like I graduated from high school and it was like, what are you gonna do? Well, I guess I'll just go to college, you know what I mean? And it just worked out for me, man. It was just a blessing. I got into it, and it's just something that I just kind of took to like a duck to water, to be honest with you.
That's what's up. So obviously experiences led you to it, realizing that, hey, this is something that I could actually really be effective in, and then recognizing that somebody saw it in you also, that you could potentially be somebody that could affect your community. You think that if more individuals such as ourselves growing up in the ways that you have, if they had more people kind of looking out for them in that way, trying to guide them towards different career paths, do you think that could be a way that we could kind of essentially help our youth? Or do you kind of feel like it's just random circumstance that it happened for you?
Nah, I really believe, man, like mentorship and having people out there, man, that's talking to these kids. Because I'm gonna be honest with you, we're at a pivotal point in our history as a nation. Every day it's more divided. Every day the talk is more divisive amongst each other. And we really got to figure out, man, to quote Dr. King, we gonna either can live together as brothers, or we can die as fools. And I hear people all the time referencing Civil War, and I'm like, y'all thinking about the blue team and the gray team being on two different sides. What you got to think about, are we going to devolve into a Serbia or a Rwanda type situation where you got neighbors and it's so tribal where, what's the movie with the dude got the Oscar for? I can't think of it. The Tutus and the Liberia. It's like, it's what's going on right now is just kind of, it's a shame, but we have to participate in our own governance. We can't just turn our governance over to other people because we see how that goes.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I encourage people, not only about being defense attorneys, but the reason why it's important for being district attorneys and getting in city council and getting involved in politics, period, is because these are the people who make real decisions. Too many times we look to Washington,
Yes.
and we worry about what's going on, and we don't even know who our alderman is or our councilman is in our own community, or who our county commissioner is. Some people don't know who the sheriff is.
Right.
And not to belabor that point, but the sheriff is one of the most powerful people in the state of Georgia. The sheriff is basically autonomous in each county, and we should be doing everything in our power to hold people accountable. And one of those ways of holding people accountable is making sure we're involved in the process, and we have candidates on the slate that one of the ways you hold people accountable for is if I'm a candidate on the slate, even if I don't win, I'm asking questions at forums and at discussions that facilitate the other person who might win being forced to answer certain things.
Exactly.
And stand up for what is your position on, right now, I want to know what everybody's position is on January. If somebody's running for office, I want to know how you feel about January 6th.
Right. Do you see it as an insurrection? Do you see it as, this little
what did my boy say the other day? A dust up. No, there wasn't no dust up, bro.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, these people were really focused and hell bent on overturning democracy. And if you think that's just a small thing, then you need to be in office. And these are things that I feel like we need to do. So, no, I don't think it needs to be any randomness. I think we need to be identifying and guiding people into positions of authority in our community, and that's so important. And I never forget, and it always humbles me, man. I'm one generation removed from my mom and dad went to a segregated school, so everything that we're doing right now, we can't lose hope because a lot of this stuff we're experiencing. I mean, you were just talking before the program, Mayor Patrick, the first. We're still dealing with the first ofs. You know what I mean? Come on, we still dealing with the first ofs, and we got to get where we're to the fifth of before people really understand the inner workings of stuff, and it's not new to us. So we can't just give up and be like, man, we're just gonna turn our governance over to other people now.
I definitely agree. When we were on the campaign trail, that was one of the things we saw the most was just like apathy for any type of progress. And it's like, they ain't cared about us. They don't care about us. They're not going to care about us. So why should we? And you see this level of like detachment from everything that's around you. And it doesn't really have any other way to manifest except into violence, because you said something very, very profound about recognizing and understanding your trauma. And if we're not able to address our trauma, then we continue to repeat the same cycles. And it's not just us, it's generational. So I think it's very, very important that you say mentorship, but how do we reach these children when it feels like there is such a disconnect between our generations and what it is today? Do you have any kind of like insight on how you think that would be?
One of the things we got to identify a lot of times is when kids are doing stuff in school, we got to make a decision. Are we mad at them or do we want to help fix them? I'm going to give you that again. Do we want to punish them?
Okay.
Or do we want to fix them?
Yes.
See, because one thing about our juvenile justice system, and even if you get somebody that's involved with defects for whatever reason, that is an opportunity instead of a problem. And we don't look at it as an opportunity too many times. This is an opportunity for us to have a positive influence in a child's life, right? If we get this child, let's say somebody's acting out in school, right? They're getting put out of class. Instead of us just saying, that's Joe Knucklehead, how about let's find out what's going on at this person's house? Do you know how many, man, I reference, had friends get killed in high school, right? shot, murdered, accidents, whatever. Nobody ever came and addressed. They do it now, a little bit better job of it now. Nobody offered us any kind of grief counseling. Nobody offered us any kind of like, hey, how do you feel? Nobody ever asked like, well, how do you feel about this? How does this make you feel? Instead, we internalize this stuff.
Right.
And when we internalize it, it ends up being projected in other ways. This is psychological facts.
Yes.
So, you know, I see a lot of times when somebody is in foster care or somebody's under defects control, that is an opportunity as opposed to it being, oh, it's just a throwaway child. We have an opportunity to actually address this child's trauma and to give them therapy. And see, that's another thing we got to do. We got to destigmatize that word in our community.
Man, give me that.
We got to
give me
destigmatize
that.
that
I'm
word.
telling you, I've been on this crusade to turn mental health into something that's no longer crazy. Like, we have to get deeper into the ideas of why are we doing what we're doing. Even if we feel like we're doing good things, there's still not a reason to not check ourselves. You know what I'm saying? We get so caught up. And I think that when you say, you know, we internalize the trauma and it's like we don't have any other outlets, we don't have anywhere to go. And then when we look at, you know, the people that we kind of have to look up to in these situations, they're only about 4 or 5 years older than us. They don't know anything else. And it's like, you know, if my OG is 17 and I'm 13, I'm only going to follow, you know, what he does. Right. So it's like, so how, you know, they're almost doomed from the get-go. So I like what you say, because this prison or the school to prison pipeline is essentially what you're speaking on. It's like, all right, first, you acting up in class. All right, we're going to go ahead and give you detention. We're going to go ahead and give you suspension. We're going to keep accelerating it as quickly as we can, rather than seeing, are you eating at home? Is your mom at the house? What about your sisters and your brother? Are they being taken care of? So what do you
I was talking to somebody the other day, and I told them, I said, you know, as a man, the only reason as a teenager, we having a discussion about colognes or whatever. And I was like, I started wearing cologne because some girl said something about how I smelled in class. Think about this. I'm in class, ain't took a bath, my clothes not washed. I got problems at home, like you just said, I had 8. Well, how you think I'm gonna act in class? You want me to be attentive? How? You know what I mean? How?
I can't be.
I can't. So I'm already ostracized socially.
Yes.
Okay. I wanna engage, but I can't, because I can't focus, because I hadn't had anything good to eat in 3-4 days besides some chicken nuggets or whatever. Not making excuses, but we need to instead of us just taking whole humans and saying, hey, I'm done with you. When we have an opportunity to address these things, we need to come up with programs and stuff. The problem with these programs, and the reason it is such a hesitance to participate in them, is because in America, there is this feeling that we have to get people. We have to punishment is like the model.
Law and order,
okay? And we've seen how that's worked for people in our community for years. That hasn't worked.
At all.
Okay? We often look at the European models and we laugh at them. We laugh at Sweden, we laugh at Norway on how they treat, but their crime rate is exponentially lower than ours.
Not just crime rate, their happiness index,
murder rate, suicide, all of this stuff is a lot better, but it's something about that rugged individualism and all that stuff attached to manifest destiny and all these other historical things in America that we just feel like everything's about being a tough guy, you know, and somebody do something to me, we gonna put them away or put them, you know, it's at some point, if we continue to do the same thing and it keeps getting worse, we have to ask ourselves, like, are we going to change? Are we going to break this Game of Thrones? Are we going to break this wheel? Or are we going to continue down this same path, Daenerys? You know what I mean? Like, what are we going to do? And that's the question we have to really ask ourselves. And I think post-COVID is a good time, because the aggression level after coming out of this pandemic, I was talking to somebody the other day, man. I don't know if you noticed it. People just are driving
erratically.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm a tailgating. I'm on the road all day long.
Yeah, so it's like people tailgating more than I've seen people get upset. You in the fast line, you driving around Warner Robins or Fort Valley or Perry or whatever. You going the speed limit a little bit above, and they on your bumper trying to go 70. And it's like, bro, what do you want me to do? I'm in the city. I think that's I think everybody was pent up. There's a lot of pent up frustrations. and this uptick we've seen in violence, I think all of that correlates. But it also, once again, instead of looking at it as a problem, I think we should look at stuff as an opportunity. Here's an opportunity. Let's not get twisted. The violent crime rate was super low for a long, it went way down, right? Way down. Now we're seeing it go back to 1980s levels. We're talking about the middle of the crack wars, right? There has to be some kind of correlation between this stuff. And what we have to start doing is, instead of worrying about getting people all the time, is applying scientific studies and theories to real world problems.
Okay. Now you're speaking my language.
Too much stuff that we deal with in this country is about how I feel. You know, it aggravates me when I have people say, "Oh, my spirit wasn't right about that." Okay, but the numbers say this: men lie, women lie, numbers don't lie. And we got to get to that point. And if we're looking at other countries, and people ask this question all the time, especially as it pertains to gun violence. Why is this country so plagued by mass shootings and suicides and all the other stuff, children shooting themselves accidentally, and other countries are not plagued by these same problems? Then we have to look at what are we doing, and we need to do something different.
It would appear that if we're all humans and we're recognizing that we do something at a higher level and it's detrimental to us, yet the rest of the world isn't doing it, maybe it's our culture. Maybe it's something we need to address within ourselves, because I think there is this huge infatuation on this gun culture, whether it's through the media with these bang bang shoot 'em up movies, whether it's the music that will get played on there, because there's a lot of great music that's not getting circulated through mainstream stations because it's always talking about the kill type stuff. So we're conditioning ourselves, we're being indoctrinated, and we're sitting here with our only forms of entertainment telling us that this gun right here is a form of entertainment also. And now it just kind of seems like we've internalized this love affair with guns. So now
and violence in general
is, but it's like we can't really escape it now. You said something prior to this about, even if we had like either a buyback program or people just gave their guns back, there's still so many more millions of guns that will never ever
I think the number was the last article I read of something like either 10 or 13 guns for every person in this country.
It's like, yeah. You know what I mean? So like we have to come up with tangible, as you say, scholarly ways of addressing real world issues by the scientific data-driven evidence that we're being given. One of the things that I don't like, and we're about to, take a quick break real quick, but one of the things that I think is a disservice is the lack of evidence that we're getting from police departments when it comes to the reporting of things that are going on. So we don't actually have a database so we can really even keep up with everything. So it seems like if maybe we could standardize it in a way where we know that there's this incident, these things happen and stuff like that, it seems like it'd be a lot more easier to kind of combat all the issues, because obviously you say it's not just one, especially when we're talking about guns in America. It's not just the idea of gun control. There is the idea of gun safety. There's the idea of all these other types of
gun security,
right? So those kind of things. So when we come back, I really want to get your thoughts on what do you think we could actually do? What's a tangible way that we could address these things? Multifaceted, multi-pronged, or however you feel would be the most efficient and effective way. But I'm very interested in hearing that.
And I want and just to prioritize it, I want to talk about some of the reasons local governments can't, or it's very difficult to do something as simple as buy the same software so everybody can. So you could have an actual algorithm that shows you predictive criminal stuff and the other stuff you're talking about as far as like patterns.
Right.
And why that stuff is so difficult sometimes. And a lot of it has to do not only with procurement law, but it's a lot of constitutional stuff, particularly in the state of Georgia, that deals with that.
Oof, yeah. Got a lot more to come in. See you in a second.